Although online odds makers currently list Hillary Clinton as a heavy favorite over Donald Trump, we must remind you that on the morning of June 23rd, prior to the UK's Brexit referendum, these same odds makers gave the UK an 87.5% chance of remaining in the European Union.
The British people have voted to leave the European Union, and their will must be respected. As such, I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction.
Leading up to the UK's Brexit vote, President Obama visited the UK and interfered in their democratic process by encouraging the British people to vote Remain.
And yes, the Prime Minister and I discussed the upcoming referendum here on whether or not the UK should remain part of the European Union. The United States wants a strong United Kingdom as a partner. And the United Kingdom is at its best when it's helping to lead a strong Europe.
UK Prime Minister David Cameron tried to manipulate the British people into voting for Remain by telling them that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted the UK to leave the EU. The British media was more than happy to spread this false propaganda about Putin.
Who would be happy if we left? Putin might be happy. I suspect al-Baghdadi might be happy. But our friends around the world are giving us a very clear message. They're saying it's all up to you. It is your sovereign choice. But our friends in Australia and New Zealand and America and all around the world and all around Europe, they're saying it's all up to you. It's all your choice. But we'd like you to stay. We think it's good for us and it's good for you.
After Leave voters were victorious and the Brexit referendum passed, the U.S. mainstream media panicked and began trying to convince Americans that the UK made a big mistake.
That's the other aspect to all of this. People are saying, Putin's doing a dance right now. He's thrilled. He wants the Europeans to be less powerful. And he sees this as making them less powerful. Your response to that, Nigel?
Well, ultimately, let me say this. Vladimir Putin behaved in a more statesmanlike manner than President Obama did in this referendum campaign.
How so?
Obama came to Britain and I think behaved disgracefully, telling us we'd be at the back of the queue. I think you guys say line rather than queue. Treating us, America's strongest, oldest ally, in this most extraordinary way. Vladimir Putin maintained his silence throughout the whole campaign. Now, my view on Putin and the Russians is, don't poke the Russian bear with a stick. If you do, you're bound to get a response.
You've seen reports. Russia's hacked into a lot of things. China's hacked into a lot of things. Russia even hacked into the Democratic National Committee. Maybe even some state election systems. So we've got to step up our game. Make sure we are well defended and able to take the fight to those who go after us. As president, I will make it clear that the United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and military responses.
Hillary threatened to take military action against Russia and start World War III over her unproven claims that Russia hacked the emails of the DNC and the Clinton campaign chairman, John Podesta. Amazingly, the U.S. mainstream media has totally ignored her threats and how a vote for Clinton is a vote for World War III with Russia. Although the British people saw through the manipulative tactics of the UK political establishment and voted to take back control of their borders, Hillary Clinton is for open borders and is using her own propaganda about Putin to avoid admitting it.
In a speech you gave to a Brazilian bank for which you were paid $225,000, we've learned from the WikiLeaks that you said this, and I want to quote, "My dream is a hemispheric common market with open trade and open borders." So that's the question. That's the question. Please quiet, everybody. Is that your dream, open borders?
Well, but you are very clearly quoting from WikiLeaks, and what's really important about WikiLeaks is that the Russian government has engaged in espionage against Americans. They have hacked American websites, American accounts of private people, of institutions. Then they have given that information to WikiLeaks for the purpose of putting it on the internet. This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election. We've never had anything like this happen in any of our elections before.
That was a great pivot off the fact that you want open borders, okay? How did we get onto Putin?
The truth is, despite claims of Hillary Clinton, which get repeated as fact by mainstream media, there has been no confirmation by U.S. intelligence that the Russian government was behind the hacks or that Putin himself is attempting to influence our election. On October 7th, the Department of Homeland Security and Office of the Director of National Intelligence on Election Security issued a joint statement saying that they were merely confident that the Russian government was behind the hack because of it being, quote, consistent with the methods and motivations of Russian-directed efforts, unquote. Clearly, this was an implicit admission that U.S. intelligence has found no evidence to prove that it was Russia, and therefore it was purely speculating based on what it believes Russian motives to be. The statement went on to say that the Russians have used similar tactics and techniques across Europe and Eurasia, for example, but then failed to provide an actual example of such Russian tactics and techniques. Instead, it simply said, quote, to influence public opinion there, unquote, a meaningless statement designed to deceive readers. The only reason for U.S. intelligence to release this statement was to help the Hillary Clinton campaign and to manipulate voters into supporting her. Putin isn't interfering in our election. U.S. intelligence agencies are interfering in an attempt to discredit the content published by WikiLeaks that exposes the corruption and dishonesty of Hillary Clinton and her campaign staff, while giving credibility to the DNC's propaganda that Donald Trump is Putin's choice to become U.S. president. It would make no sense for Putin to support Trump, who is for increasing all forms of energy production. Privately, Putin was actually a strong supporter of Bernie Sanders, who promised to ban the use of hydraulic fracking technology across the U.S., which would have caused U.S. crude oil production to decline 50%, causing global oil prices to explode upward along with Russian tax revenue. The Obama administration has repeatedly attempted to distort democracy by interfering in elections and referendums all around the world. When a democratically elected Ukraine government rejected an EU association agreement and decided to instead form closer relations with Russia, the U.S. government took actions to destabilize the Ukraine government and back a violent coup.
I am a Republican. Senator Murphy is a Democrat. We are here together speaking for the American people in solidarity with you. We are here because your peaceful process and peaceful protest is inspiring your country and inspiring the world. Ukraine will make Europe better, and Europe will make Ukraine better.
At the end of July, Donald Trump made the following comment about Putin in regards to Ukraine.
He's not going into Ukraine, okay? Just so you understand. He's not going to go into Ukraine. All right, you can mark it down.
New York Times columnist Timothy Egan recently published an article entitled "The Dumbed Down Democracy," in which he stated, quote, if more than 16% of Americans could locate Ukraine on a map, it would have been a really big deal when Trump said that Russia was not going to invade it, 2 years after they had, in fact, invaded it, unquote. Egan's statement exemplifies how far the U.S. mainstream media has fallen, and how the arrogant elites in the media openly mock the American people while protecting the status quo to the benefit of the Washington establishment. Similar to how the media constantly spreads false and misleading propaganda about Trump, practically everything that Americans have learned about the Ukrainian crisis from the media has been a total lie. The Russian invasion of Ukraine was complete fiction.
I'm here to find out the truth behind Crimea because I heard that in Crimea there's no food. Yeah. There's this huge line over here, and I wonder what it's for. Hey, can you ask, what's this line about?
Это очередь на получение медицинской страховки. Восторжествовала историческая справедливость, и Крым стал российским, и все мы теперь россияне. Мы получим бесплатную медицинскую страховку.
Товарищи, идет американская съемка, так как идет пропаганда в Америке о том, что у нас стреляют, нас тут убивают. Товарищи, покажите российские паспорта. Покажите все, пожалуйста. Все, пожалуйста, покажите, что российские паспорта.
Я такая счастливая, ну не только я, все. До сих пор понять не могу, что мы в России. Вот здесь понимаю, здесь не понимаю, потом наоборот, здесь понимаю, здесь не понимаю. В общем, счастливые, как дураки. Поняли, да? По-английски я не могу. Okay. Ну, действительно, что там говорить. И слезы были, и все на свете.
Trump has recognized the establishment's demonizing of Russia as dangerous and sees it as a push towards nuclear war. It reminds him of the build-up to the Iraq War and how any Americans who spoke out publicly against it were ridiculed and ostracized.
Hi, I'm Gerard Adams, a college dropout who founded Elite Daily, a website that I sold last year for $50 million. I used those proceeds to start an incubator in an inner city known as Newark, New Jersey to help minority entrepreneurs. I'm also the co-founder of an organization called the National Inflation Association, which is all about helping Americans stay updated and educated on our U.S. economy and our rigged system. You know, basically, our U.S. debt crisis is at an all-time high right now. The stock market has just seen a decline for the last 9 consecutive days, the most that we've seen in the last 36 years. So I definitely think that we're about to see a huge market crash as well as a crash in the US dollar's purchasing power. So I decided to create a new full documentary on these topics, and if you want to be a part of it, sign up at inflation.us. Thank you.